So hello guys, and welcome to another video. And recently, we've been getting a ton of leaks about the Nintendo Switch 2. But the interesting thing is, most of these leaks have been about the hardware, like with the dock, the Joy-Cons, the actual console itself and its specs. But we haven't seen anything related to the UI for this system. So that's what I wanted to discuss in this video. Basically, my hopes and predictions for the UI for the Nintendo Switch 2. There's a lot of things here that probably won't be super likely and that I just want to see, but they are still things that I really hope are added regardless, because, let's be honest, the Switch 1 UI is very basic, and there's a lot of things that I want to see on the Switch 2's UI. But the first thing, and I feel like this is probably the most likely thing that they'll change about the Switch 2 UI, is the loading times, and as well as lag. Because on some apps on the Switch 1's UI, like specifically the eShop and Nintendo Switch Online, they run very slowly for some reason and are kind of annoying to use. And the reason why they run slowly is because they're web-based. So I really hope this gets ironed out and fixed on the Switch 2, because this is definitely an issue. I feel like over time the eShop kind of got like a little slower. I'm not sure if that's exactly the case, but for some reason it seems like the eShop runs slower than it did a few years ago. I don't know, maybe that's because there's more on the eShop now, or there's like more things involved with it ever since like the updates, but yeah, it just seems kind of weird. And the Nintendo Switch Online app, that was added like a few years after the Switch launched. I think it was in 2022 that they added it, and it really wasn't well optimized. There was an update that kind of fixed it a little bit, and it ran slightly better, but it still is kind of slow and laggy. So I really hope it runs better on the Switch 2, and I'm pretty confident that it will. So yeah, this is like the one thing that I'm kind of the most confident that they'll fix. But yeah, the next thing that I want to see is more personality. This is something that so many people have been asking for since the Switch 1 is kind of boring and lackluster compared to other Nintendo UIs. And I understand that with the Switch, they were focusing more on the games themselves, but I don't think it would hurt to add some more influence from the Wii U and 3DS's UI. Like, a lot of people have argued that like a UI like the Wii U and 3DS would slow it down, but the Switch 2 is gonna be pretty powerful, and I don't really think the UI will be that much of a problem. Like, with the Switch 1, like, I can understand, since it is an underpowered console, they would want to make things more optimized, but with the Switch 2, I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue. And another thing about the Switch 1 is that it was kind of rushed a little bit because of the Wii U's failure. And with the Switch 2, it's definitely been cooking a lot longer, so I feel like Nintendo would have more time to optimize a more interesting UI and kind of flesh it out a bit more, so I'm really hoping they'll do that. And some of the things that I hope they'll add is like menu music and eShop music. That would be really nice to see, as well as some Frutiger Arrow influence. That is definitely a very like kind of unlikely hope that I have, because it's like one of my favorite aesthetics. Like, yeah, sadly, that probably isn't likely, but I would say at least in aesthetic, like glass morphism, like the PS5 or Windows 11, which has more depth, would be fine. I definitely think an aesthetic like that would still be nice and much better than the one that we have, because flat design is just kind of boring. I feel like the whole push for minimalism over the past decade has kind of gotten a bit old. I hope like Nintendo at least gets that hint from people and makes a UI that is at least a bit more interesting. So yeah. And kind of another thing on that topic that kind of relates to that a little bit is themes. That's another thing that a lot of people have been wanting. Like, it's weird. With the Space Switches UI, it does have a thing in the settings that says themes, but it's only for, like, light and dark modes. There really isn't anything else. Like, not even colors, which is crazy. And I actually think this is something that Nintendo could do, or they may have even been planning it for the Switch 1, but just didn't come around to doing it, because fairly recently, a couple years ago, Nintendo added icons to Nintendo Switch Online that you could purchase with Platinum points, which is a fairly similar idea to kind of customizing your UI. So I don't think it's unlikely that they'll do themes, because they could definitely add it as like a benefit of Nintendo Switch Online and basically have you purchase each theme with Platinum points. That just makes a lot of sense, considering how they've been doing things like that with the icons and everything. But yeah, I think it could work really well. And the next thing is kind of an interesting one. It actually is one that was kind of leaked, but I don't really think there is much credibility to the this leak that kind of followed this topic. However, I do think there is a possibility that this could be a thing, even if the leaks are false. And that is a social networking app, kind of like Miiverse. It would make a lot of sense, actually, since Nintendo has been expanding their quality of life services lately with things like Nintendo Music and Alarmo. And this would also allow you to post screenshots and clips, which you can't do on Twitter anymore. And I think Nintendo would want to have, like, their own space now that, like, a lot of, like, social media, like, sites have been kind of getting a bit out of control lately, and there have been, like, a lot of alternatives to Twitter popping up, even from different companies, like Threads, which, let's be honest, isn't very good, but there's also Blue Sky as well, and various other ones like that, so maybe Nintendo would kind of want to hop onto that train a little bit, even though they don't like to have, like, Nintendo doesn't like to follow trends. But during the Switch era, it seems like they are changing a little bit, and they do want to do more things that are a bit more trendy, I guess. And this would kind of follow that, and like, especially like with what I mentioned about like Nintendo Music, like I definitely think they would have an incentive to do something like this. But basically, I think this could be like a mixture of Miiverse and Discord, where you could like create your own groups and like private groups and different things like that. I mean, obviously it would be pretty heavily moderated, like Nintendo usually does with stuff like Miiverse and different things, but I could see it being pretty interesting if they do have something like this. But yeah. And I could also see like a chat feature on top of this, kind of like what I was mentioning with Discord. Because basically, I'm thinking this could be Nintendo's alternative to incorporating Discord support into the console, because other consoles do have support for Discord, but I don't really think Nintendo would do that. I mean, maybe, you never know with Nintendo nowadays, maybe they'll have like you could download Discord or something like that on the eShop, I don't know. Like, but yeah, I definitely think it's much more likely that Nintendo would do their own thing rather than just like having Discord support. And they could even allow for things like external mic support this time, so you don't have to connect like a mic or something, or use your like to your phone and like use it like externally like that. That is just really weird. But actually just connecting a mic directly to the Switch 2 would be a lot better, I would say, and I really hope Nintendo does that. Like, especially since like wireless headsets are kind of like feasible, like when looking at this, and maybe Nintendo could sell their own like wireless headset, or because it seems like Nintendo is slowly getting more like on the times, I would say, now, and the Nintendo Switch Online app on mobile devices is very backwards. So I really hope they do something a little more convenient this time, So yeah. And the next thing is achievements. Nintendo has already been doing a pseudo achievement system for Nintendo Switch Online, but I'd like to see this expanded upon for the Switch too. Like, actually incorporate the achievements into the games, like how the other consoles do, and I think this would be pretty nice to see, since you could actually earn platinum points, which you could use on, like, icons and themes. So I think it would be a very nice system to have. So I'm really hoping that they'll actually flesh out the achievements a bit more. It seems like they're inching closer to that, so I have a feeling that they might do it. So yeah. And the final thing, the most important thing, is bring back the Pikmin file transfer from the Wii U. Please, bring it back, Nintendo. We need it. This system's gonna be backwards compatible with the Switch, so we need some kind of interesting looking file transfer thing like the Wii U. So please, Nintendo, bring it back. Bring back the Pikmin. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Goodbye.